662, Canton, Ohio 44750. That toll-free number again is 1-800-342-3400.
The men of Starlight 13 are back in action. Hogan's Heroes, weekday mornings at 11 on Channel 9.
John Voight stars in today's family classic. He plays a teacher whose kids call him Conrack. Join us at 3:30, won't you?
The only difference between yours and ours revolution is that there was no great big superpower arming and financing every military actions and paramilitary actions to reverse the process of American independence.
Hello, I'm Rob Nelson for the Christian Science Monitor. Ronald Reagan has called Nicaragua under the Sandinistas a country in the grip of an outlaw regime. The Sandinistas, who called themselves Marxists, came to power in 1979 when they toppled a corrupt U.S.-supported dictatorship. Since then, Washington has been divided over U.S. policy toward Nicaragua. The Reagan administration regards the Sandinistas as agents of the Soviet Union, bent on spreading Marxism throughout the Western Hemisphere. The president pushed Congress to approve U.S. aid to the Contra rebels who have been fighting for 5 years to overthrow the Sandinistas. He suffered a defeat on Capitol Hill this week when the Senate Foreign Relations Committee voted that the aid be stopped. Opponents of Contra aid say the U.S. should not be interfering in Nicaraguan affairs, and that the Reagan administration exaggerates the threat posed by the Sandinistas. Correspondent James Nelson Goodsell reports from inside Nicaragua on the status of the 7-year-old Sandinista revolution.
Nicaragua. One can't help but be struck by the gentleness, the resilience of these people. A people now enduring the second civil war in a decade. For most of Nicaragua's 3 million people, it's an unwanted conflict. The war is dashing their hopes for the economic and social reform promised by the Sandinistas. Although these self-styled Marxists have been in power for over 7 years, you can travel the whole country and still come away uncertain of just how much popular support they enjoy. What is certain is that the Sandinistas are having a difficult time delivering Nicaragua from poverty and backwardness, the legacy of centuries of dictatorship, corruption, and misrule.
We are committed to the transformation of our society into a more just, a more brotherly and sisterly society. I think it has been demonstrated that Nicaragua is serious about the revolution. This is the people's revolution, no other.
Revolution has touched the people. For many tenant farmers, it has meant land reform, titles to their own farms, or the establishment of farm cooperatives to produce vegetables, fruit, coffee, rice, beans. Most of that land comes from thousands of acres seized from the Somoza regime. During its 45 years in power, the Somoza family controlled nearly half of Nicaragua's cattle ranges and 1/4 of all tillable land.
We are here for a political conviction. We will defend to the last moment this little piece of land where we are living. This land is ours. Before, it was the landlord's.
Nicaragua's population is growing. In the capital city of Managua, it has almost doubled in the past 10 years. Nationwide, at least half the population is under the age of 16. Educating this growing legion of young people is a major task. The Sandinista government claims to have increased the nation's literacy rate by 35% in the past 5 years. But keeping up will be an expensive proposition. Health services have also been improved substantially. Despite a lack of funds, more Nicaraguans are being cared for than ever before.
At this moment, this hospital is populated. You'll find hundreds of people, and they come to get medical assistance, which 10 years ago they would never have found in a hospital of Nicaragua.
The improvements in education and other human services are where the revolution has made its greatest strides. But the nation's escalating defense budget seriously impedes further progress in these areas. The reason for defense spending, of course, is the war, a war that's taking a heavy toll. At least 4,000 Nicaraguans, soldiers and civilians, were killed this past year. Many thousands have been injured. Today, the Sandinistas hold their ground against the U.S.-backed Contras. But the Contras cannot be counted out. If nothing more, they force the Sandinista government to spend money for defense that it does not have.
We have lost approximately $2.8 billion as a direct result of aggression. This is equivalent to 1 year of economic growth for our economy.
The Sandinista leadership puts the blame for this long, expensive war squarely on the shoulders of the United States.
The use of military force to enhance the persuasive capability of the United States is an essential part of its diplomacy. The United States government needs to have the confidence to enable it to understand that in order to be a great nation, it need not trample on the rights of others.
Bully or not, the United States has seen fit to place an economic blockade on Nicaragua. The people in this line have been waiting 4 hours to purchase a pound of meat. Such lines are typical. The war and the blockade have meant shortages of just about everything. In the mountains of northern Nicaragua, they have their own problem. These people may look like soldiers, but they're actually farmers. They carry guns because they live in fear. Their farmland is the battleground of the Civil War. And they are caught in the middle.
The Contras are in the mountains. We don't see them, but they are looking at us.
These farmers do need to be vigilant. The war has driven many neighboring families off their land. Sandinista leaders regularly travel into the countryside to boost morale. Comandante Jaime Huiloc is one of the 9 ruling Sandinistas. The father of the Nicaraguan agrarian reform, he is a modern folk hero to these people. A word from the Comandante is reassuring. It may be enough to sustain a farmer through a few more months of shortages, uncertainty, and fighting.
We are at a point where we are yet to stabilize. We see the positive effects from defending ourselves. We are starting to see economic improvements and providing work to more people.
Indeed, all over Nicaragua, one can't miss the signs of a Sandinista campaign to keep morale up, to capture the loyalty of the people. At its most extreme, the Sandinista push for national solidarity has been used to justify censorship of critics. The Roman Catholic Church has come under fire. The presses of La Prensa, the opposition newspaper, have been idle for months, while El Nuevo Diario, the paper considered sympathetic to the Sandinistas, publishes daily. These actions have prompted strong U.S. criticism. But the Sandinistas say they are a country at war, besieged by the U.S., by heavily armed rebel groups, and by economic pressures. And that under these circumstances, the Nicaraguan people will make the necessary sacrifices.
That our people have been able to withstand the onslaught of the very, very powerful forces that are trying to make us, as they say, cry uncle.
When we come back, we'll take a look at how one Nicaraguan family is coping with the revolution.
America American Heritage has been called the world's greatest magazine of history. To me, it's our American Family album, the story of our own past brought gloriously to life.
Get American Heritage for you and your family. Get a full year, 6 big bi-monthly issues for only $18. Save 25% off the cover price. Order now and get this hardbound, concise family edition of the American Heritage Dictionary. Free. Call 1-800-554-7000.
This is the international daily newspaper that's won 5 Pulitzer Prizes for news coverage. It's the newspaper famous for its unbiased editorial policy that lets you make up your own mind. It's often called the best international newspaper in the world. It's the Christian Science Monitor. The Monitor is read daily at the White House, in both houses of Congress, and by world leaders and opinion makers everywhere. It provides valuable insight and understanding of the news for people who need the complete picture. The Monitor is famous for its honest, up-to-the-minute, exclusive stories because it reports the facts accurately and candidly, without sensationalism. The Monitor covers the news around the globe and around the corner, with balanced, comprehensive reporting to help you understand. No wonder the Monitor is one of the world's most respected newspapers, with 5 Pulitzer Prizes and 11 Overseas Press Club awards. Shouldn't you subscribe to the Monitor today? Now you can. Call this number and get 4 months of the Monitor delivered 5 days a week to your door for only $19.95. Save almost 50% off the basic price. 4 months for only $19.95. And you may cancel at any time. Subscribe today. The Monitor. Call 1-800-554-6565. 1-800-554-6565.
We'd like you to meet a Nicaraguan family. They are not Sandinistas, but they are representative of the very people the Sandinistas say they fought the revolution for. James Nelson Goodsell continues his report.
In Nicaragua, the war affects everyone. In a barrio in Managua, Maria Teresa Ramirez presides over an extended family that includes children, nieces, nephews, and grandchildren. The current civil war has made it difficult to take care of all of them.
It's already been 5 years. We have been suffering all of this time. Only now it is more difficult.
2 blocks away, Maria Teresa's husband, Jose, works as a cobbler. He makes as little as 300 cordobas a day. That's about 10 cents.
The system is bad. People bring shoes to be repaired, but no one has the money to get them out. I have to limit myself and spend less, buying the least expensive items. At times, one cannot afford to eat 1 piece of meat, but we have to adjust to the salary which one earns.
The Ramirezes also have to adjust to wartime food shortages.
One day you eat, and one day you don't. I think that is what gets my nerves all shattered. When I see that I cannot give my children food to eat, then that's what makes me nervous. To arrive home and to have to tell your children that there is no food because there is no food.
The Ramirez family relies heavily on the income of their son, Francisco. But the family is worried. The Nicaraguan government has reactivated military conscription. They have made a call for at least 8,000 new recruits. The process is quick. A draft notice at 8, a medical examination by 2, and goodbyes to the family by nightfall. Any man between 16 and 24 is required to serve 2 years in the armed forces. There are very few exemptions for those called. Last night, Francisco received his draft notice.
They told him he had a deferment. He was going to stay home and help me.
Maria Teresa is determined to get an exemption for her son. She and Francisco will go to the draft board together to plead their case.
I feel like all mothers would feel, because you don't know if they'll return or not. All mothers have that anxiety, and it hurts.
Francisco is determined fit enough to serve. His only hope for reprieve is to appeal to the draft board. They wait 5 hours. Maria Teresa is concerned. Another son was taken earlier this month. Under law, 2 brothers can be drafted, but that seldom happens. Finally, a verdict. Francisco will not have to go.
What I want is that my children live peacefully, without pressure, without the war. This for my children, my grandchildren. It seems to me that this is what all mothers want.
When we return, an exclusive Monitor interview with Nicaraguan President Daniel Ortega.
You can know all the rules of the road, but you don't have any control over that other driver. That's why the right insurance protection is so important. That's why Goldblatt's insurance agency is so important to you. With no money down and just 10 low payments of only $39.40 a month, you can get a full year of auto coverage liability, even if you're a new or young driver, have been canceled, or need financial responsibility. Goldblatt's low-cost insurance agency can protect you now. Call 645-1995. That's 645-1995.
A beautiful oil painting in an exquisite frame. In a gallery, you could pay as much as $1,000 for paintings like these. But this Sunday only, at a spectacular showing by Collector's Art, you'll be able to buy oils like you see here for a fraction of those high gallery prices. Plus, over 3,000 paintings to be sold out from $14 to $39. This Sunday, 9 a.m. to 6 p.m. in Arlington Heights at the Woodfield Hilton, formerly the Arlington Park Hilton. In Oak Brook at the Marriott. In Oak Lawn at the Hilton. In Skokie at the Holiday Inn. In Homewood at the Sheraton. In Waukegan at the Sheraton. And in Maryville, Indiana at the Holiday Plaza.
Folks, Pepper's 30-night guarantee is getting a little out of hand. You see, in order to prove that you'll sleep better on a Pepper's waterbed, we're offering a 30-night free trial. But some people are getting the wrong idea. Folks, all you have to do is come in and buy a Pepper's waterbed. We guarantee after 30 nights you'll sleep better or we'll refund your money. So if you really want a better night's sleep, come on over to Pepper's, but leave your pajamas at home.
Pepper's. Pepper's waterbed. Pepper's. Pepper's.
Daniel Ortega has been a Sandinista soldier since he was 13. He's one of 9 Sandinista comandantes who jointly run the government in Nicaragua. In an exclusive interview, he talked with James Nelson Goodsell.
We are not anti-Americans. We are not enemies of the United States. But we are against the wrong policies of the United States that cause harm to our countries. These policies reflect no sense of humility or self-analysis or honesty. And this is dangerous because we have the American warships besieging Nicaragua, the American troops in Honduras, the American troops in Costa Rica. Why has the United States behaved in this way? It is because they don't understand Latin America. They don't understand the realities of our countries. Large economic problems persist in Latin American countries. The financial, commercial, and the debt problems. All these problems jeopardize political progress. The democratic process cannot be separated from the economic aspects, the financial and commercial problems. In this, the United States should help Latin America. In this way, the conditions will be given for Latin America to stabilize its democratic governments.
President Reagan says that there's a Soviet beachhead in Central America, and he says it's here in Nicaragua. How do you answer that? And how do you answer the concern that many people have that Nicaragua is a Marxist state? Many people in the United States, that is.
President Reagan is lying, and he is consciously lying because he knows perfectly well there isn't any Soviet beachhead. Nicaragua would like to have good relations with the U.S. It is the U.S., President Reagan's government, which denies itself of good relations with Nicaragua. We are not choosing to have relations with only certain countries. We want relations with the U.S. and the Soviet Union, with both countries.
There is a concern that you'll spread your revolution throughout Central America and beyond. How do you answer that concern?
First off, Nicaragua doesn't have a policy of expansion. It is absurd. This is a small country with scarcely the resources to meet our own needs. Secondly, by reason of our own principles, we think that each nation forges its own destiny. No other country can change its course from the outside, and the country that tries to do that is doomed to fail in the undertaking. Thirdly, the best antidote for revolution is making a true democracy. If in Honduras or El Salvador everyone got a job, the rural population were fed, the social and economic injustices ended, there wouldn't be any reason for the germ of the revolution to be present. We do represent a threat, in the sense that we are willing to better the standard of living of the people. And we have a conviction that if this war ceases, Nicaragua will be an example, a model for Central America. That, of course, they don't want.
You've called the Contras mercenaries. Are they indeed mercenaries?
Well, they are mercenaries, in the sense that they get paid by the American government. They are not moved by any moral or political factor, but by money.
Many of them will say, however, that they are patriotic. You don't seem to.
Well, yeah, they indeed say they are patriotic, but let's look at the practical facts. Who are the leaders of the mercenaries? Who are leading the operations? The colonels and officers that supported Somoza. So then, who could believe them to be patriots?
Speaking of the issue of Nicaraguan-U.S. clashes and the collision course that the two countries seem to be on, you've outlined some things the United States can do, but what can Nicaragua do to bring about this, or to avoid this collision?
We have been willing, and we are willing, to sign bilateral and multilateral agreements with Central American governments, to commit ourselves not to support armed groups that oppose any Central American government.
Finally, as you look at the United States, look at the Western Hemisphere, is there a message you'd like to get across to people of the United States and to people of the Western Hemisphere?
Both the American and Nicaraguan people are part of the same humanity. That we both want peace. That we both share the same Christian spirit. And in this sense, we share the same language. It depends a great deal on the American people to cause this administration to change its attitude to a more edifying one, in favor of peace. An attitude in which hate is not used as a weapon to solve problems. That hate may be put aside and a peaceful solution found.
Thank you very much, President Ortega.
Jim Goodsell is just back from Nicaragua. He's with us now. Jim, how do you read President Ortega's mood?
I think, Rob, that it was very conciliatory. I've known him for, about 15 years, and I've watched him, and I've never seen him quite like he was in this interview. In a way, he seems to be holding out the olive branch to the United States. There is some rhetoric in the remarks, but much less so than in other occasions.
So you think there is some substance as well as style?
I think so. He did agree to sign multilateral or bilateral agreements with Central American countries not to support armed revolution in those countries.
How much of this is indeed a local limited revolution, and how much is the beginning of a new Central American Marxist campaign?
Well, I think that underneath a lot there is the effort to improve the life of most Nicaraguans. I don't think that it's entirely a Marxist revolution.
What about this point that perhaps the United States does not know exactly what's best for Nicaragua?
Well, we may not. Indeed, it's a question we ought to ask. Do we know best what's right for these people? And I would suggest that perhaps we ought to listen to what they want and then maybe form a policy that would be one of supporting them and at the same time taking care of our own interests and needs in the area.
Do you see any signs that the Soviets are tiring of Nicaragua as a client state in Central America?
I think there's no doubt that the Soviets are stretched with their support of Cuba. They're not supporting Nicaragua in quite the way they're supporting Cuba, and I wonder if they wouldn't want to be relieved of some of the burden here.
Well, we'll have to keep watch on that. Jim Goodsell, thank you very much.
The New Yorker. It is not the ordinary person who would eagerly await a visitor such as this, who, for a few hours each week, would put aside career, hobbies, health club, and do something that is rare today. Read. The New Yorker. It begins with an insider's guide to what's happening in movies, theater, music, dance, and art. Add to that the best fiction, nonfiction, and poetry of our time, previewed in the New Yorker sometimes months in advance. And throughout it all, you get laughter. Those legendary New Yorker cartoons. Call now and get 52 weekly issues of the New Yorker for just $25.95. Save more than $50 off the $78 cover price. Also, get this New Yorker cartoon sampler book free. At a price like this, you may even want to order two.
Call 1-800-372-3800. 1-800-372-3800. The King of Nissans does it again with king-size cashback and special financing. $500 cashback on every new Sentra. $500 cashback in Sentra prices start as low as $61.99. During the sale, King Nissan has 2.9% financing or up to $800 cashback on trucks. The King believes nobody sells Nissans for less and gives you $500 cashback on Sentras and 2.9% financing or up to $800 cashback on trucks. Nobody sells Nissans for less. Ray Harris King Nissan, home of king-size discounts and cash rebates. 6200 West Toohey in Niles.
You know, folks, if you want a healthy body, then you've got to eat right and exercise. But what about the way you sleep? If you're not sleeping on a Pepper's waterbed, why then you're not getting the best possible night's rest. On a Pepper's waterbed, you get complete even support, and that's great for your back. And when you buy a Pepper's waterbed, we guarantee you a better night's sleep or your money back. So, folks, do yourself a favor. Eat right, exercise, and sleep on a Pepper's waterbed. You'll be glad you did.
Pepper's waterbed.
On our next program, we take you to Japan. In just 4 years, most Japanese cars will no longer be imported, but will be manufactured right here in the United States. This means thousands of workers in Japan will be added to the growing list of those seeking new jobs. A look at how one family faces the challenges of Japan's changing employment environment next week. Thanks for joining us. I'm Rob Nelson for the Christian Science Monitor.
For a printed copy of today's program, send $2 to Monitor Reports, 2 John Street, New York, New York, 10038.
Magnum, weeknights at 10:30 on Channel 9. That old car is worth money. Call Victory Auto Wreckers at 860-2000 for a quote. Victory will buy, no matter what condition your car is in. Victory will tow it away free, and you'll get cash on the spot. Call 860-2000 for a quote. Or save money by fixing up your car with used parts. Victory has 7 acres of used parts. Starters, transmissions, batteries, generators, alternators, water pumps, doors, bumpers, fenders, hoods, for all types of cars. Victory will install a guaranteed used engine for as little as $595 or a guaranteed used transmission for $200. Bring Victory a bona fide quote, and they'll match it or beat it. Victory Auto Wreckers, 710 East...